He was almost relieved when that avatar died, giving JD an excuse to start over. The Russian hurled another insult, loud enough for his voice to crackle and distort. JD muted him and held out his clipboard. The words, "Notice of Repossession," bold across the top of the page, followed by reams of dense text in English, Russian, Korean, and simplified Chinese. Official approval pinged in his system, and JD minimised the repo screen, attention back on his avatar, now holding a 0 override, like a shard of obsidian tight between thumb and forefinger. He slipped the ZO into the console by the Dreadnought's airlock door, and it opened with a sharp hiss. Lights inside the vessel flickered to life, illuminating a path into the depths of the colossal ship. JD boarded. Behind him, the Russian's stunned silence quickly turned to chaos when the kid hit the alarm. The door closed behind JD, hushing the klaxon. The ship deadly quiet, but for the ever-present ambient electronica piped into his ears. As JD ventured further in, his footsteps fell muffled on the high-res carpeting, a luxury cosmetic upgrade that cost as much in-game as the real thing. He strode past kitschy art and faux space-age designer furniture, the whole place done up like some asshole playboy's bachelor pad. The repo paperwork wouldn't say, but JD could guess the ship belonged to the child of some Russian oligarch. More dollars than cents, as his dad had said, back when the dollar still mattered. "Coda," JD said. "Got an ETA?" 10 minutes. "Make it 5. The words came out blunt, sharply bitten. JD reached the cockpit, finding the confined space utterly different to the gaudy furnishings throughout the rest of the ship. Brutally decorated, every surface was accented in dark steel, with decals laser burnt into the rear wall. A post-ironic hula girl rested on the dashboard, beside a just as trite bobblehead messiah. JD took the pilot seat and keyed the ignition with the override. Vibrations pulsed through his skull as the engines throbbed to life, reactor humming low, systems coming online one by one, green across the board. Somewhere distant, JD grinned, all that power at his fingertips, weapon systems more advanced than anything he could afford. JD brought up the Dreadnought's menus, his eyes caught by the self-destruct button marked in hazard red. Every ship and structure in the game had one, and pirates were known to scuttle a stolen ship rather than let it be recovered. Some repos did it too, instead of leaving a botched contract to another repossessor, but JD never had. It seemed too petty. A musical chime sounded from somewhere below the cockpit's dash. Familiar, but out of place. JD tried to ignore it, but the digitized trombone continued playing over a sparse beat. It took him 4 bars to recognize it as his ringtone. Another 2 to realize what it meant. Without taking the eye mask off his face, JD let go of the controls and reached blindly for the shelf beside his bed until he found the machined slab of glass and plastic. He held it in front of his face and let the VR rig recreate it in the simulation. The screen showed an incoming call from Tech Logistical Assurances Limited. JD swiped and answered. "Yellow?" "Need you in the shorefront warehouse," said the terse voice on the other end. JD didn't recognise their needling accent, but guessed it was out of one of the hellish Bryles call centres. "I'm not on call until this afternoon," JD said. With his free hand, he brought up the in-game system map, watching for the arrival of Coda's crew. The sun shone bright in the centre of the chart, but everything was still. "On-site repair isn't responding. We need a technician out there immediately. I've been authorised to increase your usual pay rate by 10%. JD sighed through pursed lips, stalling while he did the commute math. "All right, but it'll take me 2 hours. 10 a.m, no later." The call centre drone hung up, and JD swore. He dropped his phone and heard it land on the bed beside him, crinkling the nylon fabric of his sleeping bag. Back at the Dreadnought controls, JD jammed the throttle. Engines droned louder, and the ship's superstructure popped and groaned, locked tight to the docking ring.